Hey guys, I want to show you a really fun Sparky build setup I've been working with here. And it utilizes the Gemling Legionnaire, and as you see here, we get lots of attributes. You can also satisfy any gems with your highest attribute, and then also up here, you get extra bonuses for each attribute point. So if you're stacking int, you're going to get 4 mana per intelligence, which is super nice. Then here, we can also get 3 additional slots, and this here lets you use 2 copies of the same support, gems, and different skills. So this is huge, because what's really fun here is with Spark, you can actually use 2 of them. So we can burst. We can have 2 large bursts using Unleash. So let me go ahead and put Unleash here in the other one. So, in other words, this is going to give you large bursty damage on the first cast, and you can left and right mouse them, doing big, large amounts of sparks, which is super neat. And you know, there's tons of different builds you can do with this setup, which is really neat. And I'm really enjoying it here playing a mana stacker. I got about 10 to 20 divs in this build now. We got 7,200 mana and almost 5,000 energy shield. And I'll go ahead and go over my gear, but first I want to show you a little bit in action. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and throw in a random tier 16 and kind of see it in action if you aren't familiar with Spark yet. Alright, as you see here with Unleash, we get 2 stacks each. And they recharge fairly quick. And there's other things I like to use as well, like Flame Wall. You can shoot your sparks through it to get extra fire damage on it. And then Corpse Explosion, another big one of my favorites that can pretty much one-shot anything, no matter how much life you got. And then we also have Orbit Storms here, which we use to basically debuff everything. So yeah, been having a lot of fun playing this. Possibilities are unlimited with Gemling, pretty much, because there's just so many different builds everybody's playing right now, and you know, you can just basically build whatever you want, any kind of attribute stacking, pretty much any build. I mean, you get more life with Gemling, you get more energy shield with Gemling, basically just because you stack all the attributes. But as you see, with fairly cheap gear, this build clears perfectly fine in tier 16s, and it's smooth and it feels good, and I really enjoy playing it. Alright, let's go ahead and beat up a boss here. Yeah, it makes pretty quick work of him. That last boss fight is pathetic, so I'm gonna blow the fuck out of this one. Alright, so I'm going to quickly go into depth on how this build works and how we are going to build it. We're going to stack intelligence and mana. You want as much as possible as both, because we are running Archmage, and this adds 8% of damage as extra lightning damage for each 100 maximum mana you have. So we have 7,200 mana right now, so right now that is 8 times 72, which is going to be 576 added lightning damage, which is huge. And also I want to go into the key passives that also work with this build. Okay, so we're going to be running 3 keystones with this build. First one's going to be Mind Over Matter. All damage is taken from mana before life, and you get less mana recovery rate. That sounds bad, but it also makes our mana our life pool. The next we have is converts all energy shield to mana. So all the energy shield we get converts to mana. And that's going to be through our gear. Next is maximum life becomes 1. Sounds bad, but it's wonderful because it makes us immune to chaos damage, and there's a ton of chaos damage in this game. However, this one item does keep from all energy shield going to mana. You take this off, you technically just have 1 life, and all your damage will go straight to mana. But with this very popular amulet, Everlasting Gaze, you gain 30% of your maximum energy or mana as extra energy shield. So it gives you a nice little pool of energy shield to add in. So that is a must-have for this build. You can go with something else, but it's really the best way to start. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about gear. Everything in this build is basically obtainable for any new players or anybody that's pretty skilled in this game. It's not going to take a ton of time and investment getting it. We just have some basic stats here. Our first priority is going to be resists. We want to get all these to 75 for sure. We don't need chaos resist because we're immune to it. But every piece of gear, you know, like you want run speed on boots, you want to get mana and intelligence and resists. So we want to get all that juicy stuff in order to get your resists to max and as much as mana and intelligence as possible, because the intelligence does give us 4 mana per int. Alright, super important for this build, you want the Everlasting Gaze. If you're playing this build, you want to get this. This is going to be your main priority. The gain maximum mana is extra energy shield. Goes from 20 to 30%. You know, the lower the roll, the cheaper you can get it. But you definitely want this. The whole build set up on basically your stun resistance and your chance to be frozen is based off of your energy shield. So you need the extra energy shield that this gives. And also, as you see, what's really important is I have Anointed allocates Icebreaker. In order to do that, you go on your passive tree here, and any node that you want to do, Icebreaker is right down here. You can hold Alt, and it'll show you need Distilled Emotions, Ire, Paranoia, and Fear. These oils, they drop from any breaches, and basically if you want to use it, you just right-click it, and then you can put the amulet in here, and then you select the ones that you need in order to get Icebreaker. So, with major utility and for defensive setup, not only does the energy shield give you a great overall effectiveness of hit points, you're going to have the Icebreaker to reduce your being chilled and frozen, and you also want your charm to have it to make you reduce your stuns. Because when you have 1 life and lower energy shield, you're going to get stunned a lot more. So you definitely want this combo to where you have a stone charm, an Icebreaker, and your amulet. This is going to make you the most effective at defenses so you don't get stun locked to death or frozen. Alright, for armors, you got multiple options. Like the first one you're probably going to want to get is something with the most amount of energy shield as you can get possible. It's going to basically convert all this to mana. See, we take that off and we're down to 6,000 mana. This one here, Marauder Invictus, is super great for any mana stacking build. Basically, we're putting the soul cores of Zalatal in them. Gives you 2% increased mana for each one socketed, and then also, as you can see on the stats itself, it gives 6% increased mana per socketed rune or soul core, and then also 5% increased attribute. So there we're increasing our intelligence and our mana both. And these are, you know, they're pretty cheap for the 4 socket ones. They go up to 5 sockets where they get much more expensive, but this is a huge upgrade. As you see, it gives us 1,000 more mana compared to an 800 energy shield chest. Alright, if you need help looking up the Marauder on the trade site, basically you can just go in here and you type in socket. And then you can go ahead and select, look for it on the list here. It's the easiest way to pull them up. We got attributes, then another, go ahead and type socket in again. And then maximum mana per socket right here. So that way you can get the exact 2 that you want, because this is a unique, but they're all set up differently on them. And then just go ahead and click search, and then a bunch of them will pop up. And of course, you can also, you know, you really want to start investing big, you can start getting up into the 5 gem sockets, and they get much more expensive. Alright, for soul cores, just come up to Alva. If you don't know about this yet, this is a currency exchange. They added this in PoE 1 recently. This is super great for getting anything you want. You know, we got soul cores, omens, essences, expedition, everything's here. So just go ahead and pick some soul cores. You want some of the Zalatia, however you say it, the max mana ones, and then whatever you just want to pay for it with, like throw in some insulted orbs. There you go, boom, they're 20 chaos orbs each. You just click both, and then you can buy them. Also, too, if you're like really into the game and you want to go big, you know, later on, grab this bad boy, Temporalis, and you can basically just teleport around everywhere, and you're super fast, super broken, so fun. But this is like a very end game chase unique, but definitely makes the build fun if you want to really go fast, right? All right, so for spirit gems, Basically, you know, what we're using this 251 spirit for is we got blink, which is what we just seen, what we're going to basically be really efficient with and clear maps faster. Huge asset to mapping. I believe it probably reduces, if you're mapping all day, it's going to save you about 2 hours a day, so it's super important to use blink. Archmage, we obviously know what this is where all our damage is coming from. Cast on shock, I wouldn't pay too much mind to this. I'm not even really running it properly right now because I believe it's going to get nerfed. It's already been nerfed once and it's probably going to get nerfed again, but I basically have cast on shock with lightning conduit, impetus, and retention. So if you're shocking, this will absolutely blast bosses. And the boss I showed you, I wasn't shocking with either one of my skills, so it wasn't even an effect. Then also you can run Grim Feast, which has a chance to spawn a remnant, and you gain 152 energy shield, which this can also stack up, so you can actually go over this amount of energy shield and get more. And also run clarity with it, which gives you more mana regen, which is huge. And then mana remnants, you can use that too if you want. It's another 30 spirit. See, we got even more. This will basically, you'll just get more mana when you kill. So basically all this stuff can just like stack up to keep you super tanky, super juicy. Alright, next up we have like our support damaging skills. That's going to be Flame Wall. Basically you just slap this down. Anytime you shoot your sparks through it, they gain extra fire damage at this current level. We have 80 to 115 added fire damage. This one just makes it last longer, so you can basically sit here and cast behind it even longer if you're in a boss fight. And then also Fortress makes it a circle instead of a straight line. So yeah, you take that out and then just have a line of the firewall instead. Next we have is Orb of Storms. This is really increases your single target damage. Basically every time you cast a spark inside of it, it shoots out a bolt and it chains and stuff. And then with this we have it applying lightning exposure and increased shock stance and effectiveness of the shock and the exposure. So we're running Orb of Storms, Overcharge, Lightning Exposure, Conduction, and Strip Away. Alrighty, and our almighty backup master blaster is Detonate Dead. This skill is just amazing. It don't even matter what level it is. I keep it lower. It's like level 9 right now, just so the mana cost is lower. It doesn't matter. It does do some fire damage, but we're adding a ton of damage to it with Archmage, which also stacks on top of the 20% of the corpse's maximum life. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're ever not killing something fast enough, you use Detonate Dead, everything's going to die. It's your go-to, especially for like breaches, any heavy, very dense areas, this thing will save you. Like if your spark doesn't kill something instantly, blow it up with a Detonate Dead. And with this, you don't, like I said, you don't even need it that high of a level. I'm just running 9 for lower mana cost. And then Magnified Effect, which is more area of effect. And also you want to make sure you have this quality as soon as possible. You get another increased radius with the quality. Let's see here. It's, yeah, 0.4 meters with the radius. And then Corpse Conservation basically gives you another chance to blow up a corpse with 25%. And then also Mobility, I like this too because you can cast it and move faster while you're doing it. And then Arcane Tempo, which makes it cast faster. So this is your absolute go-to to save your ass in any situation. Alright, so I'm going to throw in a pretty nasty tier 15 map with extra monster life, bunch of crap on a breach map, and we're going to like basically see Detonate Dead in action. Alright, here we go. We got this breach right here. What a horrible, nasty layup. We got this thing blocking our path. So just come in here. I usually just kind of like throw a couple sparks before I open it. Because, you know, we got extra life here. But basically, you know, I'm just going to kill a couple things. You know, if you ever gets crazy like that guy down right, just start corpse exploding everything. That's all you got to do. You just blow everything up non-stop. Also, too, you know, if you're getting some jewels for your build, I like getting a couple area of effect ones on some of the jewels if you can. They're generally cheaper. Yeah, it just blows everything out more, but it's a super grateful skill to have early on because it just makes everything so much easier. You don't have to worry about dying. You don't have to worry about getting ganged up on. You're just going to blow everything up. Super great skill. Just don't talk about it too much because it's going to get nerfed. Alright, now I want to go ahead and talk about Spark and like the common used support gems with it. So basically this is a spell. It's a projectile, lightning, and duration. And it also has 19 projectiles. It's also increased by the quality, so you get up to 4 more projectiles from the quality on the gem. So these are the 4 damaging gems that are most commonly used. First, you got Controlled Destruction, just basically 30% more flat out damage, but you can't do crits anymore. Elemental Focus, 25% more elemental damage, but you can't inflict ailments, like Shock's the most common one with Spark, or Cold or Ignite if you're adding other elements to it. Consider Casting to become a very popular one because it adds 40% more. It's huge. It's a large amount of damage, but you get 15% less cast speed with it. And then Lightning Penetration. It's not used very much because it just doesn't change the tooltip damage at all, so it's not very popular. But 30 elemental damage penetration is basically a 30% more multiplier, so it's pretty big. Unleash. This is our caster ones, where basically you can just cast all 3 of them at once, or 3 casts of it all at one time, getting about 60 projectiles in one cast. However, this again doesn't reflect on your DPS meter, so it's not very much used, but it's definitely great for bursty damage. And then this one's super popular. Almost everybody uses Arcane Tempo. It just gives you a flat out more cast speed. Alright, and moving down to the utility ones, Persistence. Basically, this is just more skill effect duration. So basically your Spark says, okay, its base duration is, I know it's here somewhere. Oh, projectile duration, 2 seconds. So yeah, you just slap that in, and it basically just makes the sparks last longer. And you get another 0.8 seconds to it. And you can also get duration on gems as well too, or the jewels that you can socket in your passive tree. Next is Pierce. So this lets them basically, you know how the sparks twirl all around, they can basically hit the monster, go through it, come back around and hit more. This definitely helps with AoE if you're trying to, basically main clear everything with Spark and you want it to basically hit as much as possible. Pierce is great, very commonly used. Acceleration makes it move faster. Basically, they fly faster through the air, giving it also more chances to hit during the duration it's out. So that's another really popular one. You can also get this on the socketed jewels in your passive tree as well. So you can get projectile speed in that. You can get it in the blue gems and the green gems. No, actually, I think projectile speed's only in the green gems right now. Then Inspiration, this one's probably more popular if you're on a Sork, but yeah, just basically less mana cost because you actually have a pretty high mana cost because Archmage adds mana cost to the Spark. So yeah, so right here you have non-chilling spells cost an additional 5.5% of your max mana, so that's just popular with your total mana regen. A lot of people use Inspiration.